Awesome. All right, so guys, we are live again today online, and actually we have a small crew here today. We don't have a lot of people, which is okay. Usually these events, we get in between 10, maybe 15 people, and been busy with us, and then you're busy doing your thing, so we're trying to get back into the marketing, making sure you guys know what's happening. So we're actually live over there online, and if you guys have questions while you're here with us today, please ask us over there. Ashley will give us that information. We'll ask it, and we got 3 people here today. That's great. So we might have some stragglers come in. If we don't, that's okay too. But guys, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. This is Hopportunity. Our latest change up has been Mr. JP has taken Alex's position. So yeah, he is now the person that directs in the realtor space, right? For us as an opportunity group. So tell us, get with it, and you do you, because JP is going to introduce himself and kind of tell you what he does, who he is.
Yeah, JP, I'm kind of an extension of Alex Winfield team. Been in real estate probably about 7 years. Prior to getting licensed, been licensed for about 3. Prior to getting licensed, was doing some off-market stuff. Learned from Sean back in the day, just on the side, and jumped in full-time as an agent about 3 years ago. So bounced around on a couple firms, wanted to get more focused on the investing side of things. That's what I really enjoy, the off-market stuff.
Yeah.
Sean, and then Alex was right in that whole realm of everything. And even when I wasn't licensed, Alex and I were working at off-market opportunities as well. So after, I guess, sampling a couple other firms in the area, came to Costa Rica, Alex and I had always talked about working together. In some fashion, we had worked together prior to me getting licensed. And then once I got licensed, it was just right.
Nice.
And then Sean and Alex had this going on for a while, which I'm a member of, checking out too. Alex is busy with 4 kids, family, still running his business. Yeah, life, still running his business. I'm still in that realm too, though I only have 2 kids, but I have a little bit more time to come in and try and fill the shoes.
Cool.
That he had set up. So here as a resource on that end, both on the retail end, the traditional real estate, and also on the off-market creative stuff.
Cool. So don't let this discount, guys. Like, JP's been in the business. He's done, I think, 3 wholesale deals that I know of. So he has that experience from the marketing standpoint, not just the realtor standpoint. And I want you guys to understand this, that's online, this is a big deal. Understanding how to do multiple things. Okay. So you're doing the realtor thing. You can put your investor hat on. You and Alex are probably in that group, is understanding property management. Like, there's a lot of little things that you have, and you are not as robust and loud as I am, but guys, JP knows his stuff, right? So having this person step into Alex's shoes, yes, Alex is a big fill, but remember, JP has a lot to offer too. So,
and that was one of the things, I go meet these off-market sellers. Test. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. And that was one of the things, previously meeting with off-market sellers, sometimes their best option, they weren't in distress. Property was in good condition, and they had time on their side. It was in their best interest to put on the market and get more money out of it. So that's why I decided to get licensed and just put that notch on the belt.
Hell yeah. So multiple different hats, allowing you to have resources for like a tool in your belt. Absolutely. Right? Awesome. All right, so what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Hey.
All right, so as we're getting rolling, we're going to just kind of get rolling right into it. For those guys that hopefully found us, make sure you follow us here at Hopportunity, and ask questions while you're here, okay? So tonight, we're going to talk about private money lending. Specifically, like, we have been lending for the past, I'd say, pretty good for 2 years. We've been playing it in 3. Prior to that, it was just me and some friends that put some money together and put it out to work and had kind of knowledge on it. We're like, all right, let's take a swing at it, and we did pretty good with it. So we've done transactional funding. We've done fix and flips. We've done long-term holds. I've got a few different loans that I've put out for like 3 years. right? And we've done some creative financing on subject to where we put that money in play, and then it turns around and does a owner finance for maybe the long term, right? And you lock in private money as a return on top of whatever that mortgage is, and then that person pays it, right? So let's talk about what we did up here. So I want to talk about just kind of some of the vocabulary. Do you have that slide? Okay, so let's jump to that real quick, because vocabulary in this industry is really important. One of the things I've picked up in this past year is what might be known is not correct. And when I say that, it's talking about percentages and points and the cost of money. And when we talk about LTV in the wholesaling industry, we talk about a formula, like a Mayo formula, right? Max allowable offer. The reason that's being followed is because the lender is doing the same thing, right? They're following the same formula in order to make the loan to the borrower, okay? So, what's that? The echo. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna read these out because Ashley, I know, is showing them up there. But additionally insured, meaning when you guys get an insurance policy, we as lenders are labeled as additionally insured. If that place burns down, we're first. We're getting paid first, right? So that's what additionally insured means. Amortization. Anybody in the mortgage industry knows, how do you amortize a loan out over time, right? 3 years, 5 years, 15, 30. Amortization is how that gets drawn out. And usually the longer the loan, the lower the payment, right? On private money lending, amortization doesn't mean anything, right? Because these loans are under a year, and they're definitely under 3 years. And if you look at amortization, you don't really touch the interest or the principal until about year 15, right? So the first 15 years of the loan is where all the interest is. So if you ever create a loan and create paper, you want to sell that at maybe a little bit of a discounted rate, but somebody's probably going to buy that paper because they're buying payments in the future, right? So that's another possibility. Appraisal. This is just really simple. It says, what's the property going to be worth when we're all said and done with it, right? So that's one that we call ARV, after repair value, and that's recognized in the wholesaling space. In lending space, we just say appraisal, right? I use that terminology because I'm knowledgeable in the ARV, so when you talk to wholesalers and rehabbers, that's pretty much thrown around, right? But when you talk to other lenders, they go off of the word appraisal. Like, what's property going to appraise for? Okay. ARV, I just explained. After repair value. Balloon. The word balloon you're going to hear a lot in creative financing, right? The creative financing say it balloons. I'm going to give you a 30-year mortgage, but I'm going to balloon it in 5 or 10 years, meaning at 5 years, you got to pay up, right? So let's think about or talk about creative financing, sub 2, owner finance out for, I'm going to give you a 30-year mortgage, but it balloons at 10 years. You got to pay me due. Because when people say you pay balloon, they're like, what do you mean? You're going to give me a party? What are we doing? So balloon, it inflates and it's time to pay off, right? That is what that balloon means. Collateral, really simple. Collateral is something that we can go get our hands on. What do you own? You own a car, a house, jewelry, any type of stock, bonds, or whatever we can liquidate to get our money back based off of that asset. Right, that's really important. If you don't have collateral, most hard money loans and private money loans are based off of the asset. They're not based off of you. You are a piece of that. Don't discount that at all, right? But are you the person that says, hey, when it's all said and done and shit hits the fan, can you pay up, or will you make sure it's done? That's really important, right? So collateral, we need something. Deed of trust, DOT. A lot in this industry, you'll hear DOT and note, right? So I need a deed of trust and a note that lays out specifics. What are you doing? Where are you paying? How much are you paying? And when is it due, right? So in public eye, you'll see a deed of trust recorded. That's in the public record. You can see that all day. The note is held with the attorney in escrow, right? So we can see that. I like to call the note you don't get to have selective memory moment, right? Somebody's like, well, I didn't think we agreed to that interest rate. Back to the paper, right? Well, Sean, I can't do this or that. Back to the paper, right? So we don't have to worry about selective memory anymore. That's a fixed number, fixed documentation. Default, pretty self-explanatory. You lose, right? You defaulted, game over. It comes back to us. We do something, I don't see it on here, but deed in lieu of foreclosure. Deed in lieu of foreclosure is signed ahead of time. So, all right, everybody's happy. We want to do a fix and flip, right? All right, let's do it. I'm going to lend on the property. I'm going to give you the money. I'm going to escrow the rehab. Everything's good to go. All hell breaks loose. Shit hits the fan, right? You agree ahead of time that you will deed the property in lieu of foreclosure back to us, right? So we all agree today that things have gone wrong. When that happens 6 months from now, you're going to have the same agreement we had then that we have now. Doesn't matter how much time, sweat, blood, crying, whatever you've dealt with, this is what you agree to do, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to get our money back. You have to agree to do that as well, okay? DOC and non-DOC loans. So that's a doc loan, a no doc and documentation loan. Documentation loan says I can document something on the loan that you are responsible for, meaning most people don't want to sign a personal guarantee. We will not do a loan if you will not sign a personal guarantee. You are not going to hide behind your LLC and a private lender. Guaranteed, right? Because if you don't want to sign that, what does that tell me up front? You don't even believe in yourself, right? So you know that you can hide behind your LLC. We're not allowing that to happen. Today you agree that you're going to do what you say you're going to do in 6 months, and you agree by doing that by signing your ass on the line, right? And guys, the way I talk today is the same way I talk when I do lending. It's no powder, sugar cookie, we ain't doing none of that, right? I am not that lender. I am not that person in general, right? Let's talk real and keep it real. Stuff's going to happen. It's okay. We get it. But what we're going to talk about today, we're going to be talking the same way when it happens, right? If we write a loan to default and everybody knows what's going to happen and everything goes good, everything's okay, right? But we can't have the selective memory of like, oh shit, I didn't know what we said. You didn't say that. You didn't say this. We're like talking about it's going to fail. And here's what's going to happen. Do you still want to sign the line? Most people say yes. All right. Fixed and adjustable interest. So fixed interest meaning on these, I want you to understand, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but fully earned and interest over time. So when you say, I'm going to use an example, 10% for 6 months and 3 points, right? That is 10% fixed on the loan and then 3 points of the loan, right? So let's just say 10% without even talking about the points. That means $100,000 at 10%. What's the math? Anybody know? Quick math. $10,000, right? So you're going to pay me back $110,000 in 6 months. I don't care if it's done in 3 months. I don't care if it's done in 4 months. I don't care if it's done in 5 months. At 6 months, that is due. Or if you're done before then, you still owe the full same amount, right? This isn't interest bearing on a full year. This is interest fully earned in a 6-month term. So the day you sign that line, that interest is being paid. Lenders want that because they want to know they're getting a guaranteed return, right? You also want to know that because you want to know what you're paying. Make sense? And we're going to break that down in a sheet in a little bit. All right, I'm going to go through this a little quicker. I feel like I'm going to go too long if I go too much. Lien, that's very obviously just saying it's a lien against the property. A lien can be a mechanic's lien, a contractor lien, anything that encumbrances the property is what a lien is, okay? Loan origination fee, those are usually points, right? Well, they can be loan origination saying, to originate this loan, I'm going to charge you 1 point, and then I'm going to charge you how they get paid, if they're paying brokers and everything else, other points. Like, origination fee is one thing, and then you can see down there where it says points. That is what that is. LTV, loan to value. What is the loan to the value of the property, right? Meaning, how do we back into that math is why that equation is used, and how we talk about it in wholesaling is 70% LTV. So if I take ARV after repair value and I do it times 70%, that gives me my full all-in number. The math that I use all the time is $250,000 at 70% is $175. That $175 now says I have a $50,000 rehab. It means I can purchase the property for $125,000. That's how that equation comes to, right? Mayo, max allowable offer. That is the most I can offer on the property all in, which was the equation I just explained, right? So if you hear that, and I hear this acronym get beat up so many different ways, like MOA, max offerable allowable, but that's how it's written. Note, that was the thing I explained before. What is a note? It's in detail what happens, where, how much, when, all of that in detail, but it's not in the public eye, right? Personal guarantees, we explained that. Points, we explained it. Prepayment penalty. If you get done with the property early, or you sell a property on terms and time, right? We do, at our company, we do long-term 30-year notes with creative financing, right? We are the bank. There is a 10-year early penalty payoff. If you try to pay us off before 10 years, you got to pay all that interest, right? The reason is we want to lock in that interest rate. We want it to know it's locked in for 10 years. The other reason is if we decide to sell that paper and make it liquid, the person that's buying it from us knows they have a 10-year note. All right, so there's twofold for that reason and why. A lot of people are like, well, Sean, I want to pay it off early. Right, but we want the interest. So we're making you a great deal, right? We actually are in the middle doing one currently. It was a $350,000 sale, bring me 45 grand down. They're financing 305. It was at 6.992 or something like that. And we had a 10-year payoff. And the buyer was like, I don't care. That's the low interest rate compared to what today's rates are. It's pretty good. Not a bad deal, right? So principal is just what it sounds like. It is the principal of the money. I'm only paying principal payments, or I'm only paying this amount, no interest included, right? Secured and unsecured loan is just like it sounds. Secured is obviously has things behind it, and unsecured means there's nothing protecting it whatsoever, right? We need to be protected. You want to be protected, right? You want to know that your LLC owns it. You want to have insurance in your name. You want to have all this stuff for protection. This is secured. And then title binder. This is something that's really important to know because JP was talking about this, and I think you guys were talking about it too, like cracking jokes of files that title companies need to be paying up because they got title didn't connect. All right, so a title binder says that this is what's going to happen. Here's the coverage that you get, everything inclusive of making that title is clear. That is what you're looking for in a title binder. Okay. All right, so I know you've changed this a little bit, but let's go back to step one, Ashley, on your original where you were going to get me to go, because I didn't see what you changed. Okay. Okay, what is a lender and why do you need one? Cash versus hard money. Finding and vetting a lender package, and lender glossary. So we went over the lender glossary. What is a lender and why do you need one? Pretty obvious. I need to borrow money and I need to buy a property, right? So that's why I need a lender. Here's a lot of what people have a hard time on. Man, your interest rate's really expensive. Right, but if the cost of money is worked into the deal, is that a problem? Or is it that you don't have the money, and as long as it works into the deal, then that's what matters, right? I used to think that way when I first started. Now that I'm in the lending position, I totally understand what those guys were doing. And guys, when I started, we had some tough-ass lenders, and they're still out there lending. I learned a shit ton from them. But there was zero room for error, right? And if you did do error, you were going to pay for it, right? And we do that in our docs. If you're late, it's a $150 a day penalty. Think about that every day. That should be passed down to your contractor, right? So your contractor independent agreement should say for every day they're done early, they get paid plus. But every day they get done late, they get charged, right? Because we're doing it as lenders. I can't tell you how many times I had to pay it on my side, but I passed it down to my contractor, all right? Cash versus hard money. So cash literally being cash that you have in an account and it transfers versus hard money. When you're making a cash offer, it's still contingent on final financing approval, right? It can still be a cash offer, but it's going to be contingent. It is financing contingent, right? Understanding that is important when you're dealing with agents. And sometimes the agents mix this up, and we teach this too, but understand the difference between a financing offer because it's a lender versus conventional financing. We're not going through all that, right? We're going quicker with our underwriting and our appraisals and stuff like that, right? Way quicker, yeah.
So when someone says they're making a cash offer, you're considering anything outside of a conventional lender as
cash.
If you're going through a hard money lender,
yep.
You're saying it's a cash offer.
Correct. Because most of the stuff that's happening in the background is there's still appraisals and there's underwriting and stuff like that going on, but it's not going through your conventional financing parameters, which is 35 to 45 days, right? We are definitely considering that a cash offer. Finding and vetting a lender. So we are a lender, understanding who we are, and what we do, right? Go to our website, talk to people that we borrowed money from. We'll let you talk and introduce, and did you enjoy it? Did you not? Was he a dick? Did he do what he said he was going to do? Like, how much is it easy to work with? Like that kind of stuff, right? We have helped a lot of deals just recently where other lenders, and I'm talking big name lenders nationally, that are just failing because they're not doing or not explaining in detail what has to be done for them. I also think that some of these big national lenders are not telling the borrower up front what has to happen, right? They're saying, yeah, it's a great deal. Meanwhile, I'll quick underwrite, look at something, and whether it's Hampton Roads or it's just online, we can use different services to run this math. That is not even close to 70%. Your rehab budget is completely off, not even close, right? So I don't think the people that are saying that they're brokering, like the actual people that are like sales guys and selling the loan, they're not brokering, they're not underwriting correctly, right? And I think that's a bad thing. I think it's bad for the lending position, not training their people better, right? Because then you as the borrower are like, I don't want to work with them anymore. Told me I had a deal, and then he comes and blows up it. He told me I needed $5,000 at the table. Now he's telling me I need $25,000 at the table. Just want to pull $20,000 out of my ass. Like, I can't do that, man. Right? I know that feeling. I've been there. Lender package. What you need to have for a lender is so important, right? We're going to show you one of these, and we are going to create something. We haven't talked about this yet, but we're going to create something that shows you a lender package and says what we need. The most important thing I need for you to know is a net sheet. I need you to know your math, your purchase price, your holding cost, your rehab cost, your all in. On the other side of that page, you're going to have sales costs. You're going to have closing cost. You're going to have interest carrying costs. And at the end of that, you're going to have your gross profit, right? That's pre-tax, all that kind of stuff. But that is so important. I can't tell you, just in the past 3 weeks, I've been underwriting what I thought was experienced borrowers. They don't have a net sheet. They're sending me HUDs. That's not a net sheet, right? I need to see you know what you need. So net sheet, comps, pictures. And when I say pictures, give me a Google Drive link that has pictures of the property in depth, right? If you have a crawl inspection, we're going to need it anyway. So share it with us. We want to read what they saw. We want to see the pictures, right? Show us problematic things on the property. Be as vulnerable as you can with sharing as much information as you can, and make it condensed into one shareable link. So Google Drive, lender package 123 Main Street. Here's all my LLC information, because the closing company is going to need that anyway, right? Here's my net sheet. Here's my comp showing what I think the property is worth. And here's my scope of work of what I'm going to do to the property, right? That's going to show us what we see. Okay, they're going to do a good amount of work. They're going to put some nice cabinetry in. They're going to put granite, or they're going to put Formica. That's going to change. What are the materials they're using to make this property worth this amount? That is really important, okay? You can't go in with what's the old saying, like a beer budget on a champagne taste, right? Like, I'm going to do $12,000 worth of work, and I'm going to sell it for $1 million. Like, no, you're not even close. So lender's package is very important to say, hey, here's what I want to present to you as a loan, or as a request for a loan, right? We're actually I'll get to go in a second. We have our site, and we'll show you kind of like an intake we do that helps you, all right? Well, what's the next one? How am I doing on time? 8 o'clock. Okay, so we talked about what is a lender, why you need a lender, and we can share this with everybody, because this is broadcasting online, but we'll share this with you guys as well. Go to the next one. Okay. We talked about private money and hard money, right? Private money is an individual that has capital just sitting on the side, and they want to put some money to work. Typically, there's either no down payment, or the down payment is smaller. There's a lower annual interest rate, and the LTVs can typically be higher. So the caveat to this is private money lenders. We call this Uncle Bob's money, right? Uncle Bob says, I got $100,000 laying around, and he's like, pay me 8 to 10% a year on it, and I'm good to go, right? But Uncle Bob doesn't know how to underwrite a deal. And Uncle Bob doesn't know comps. And Uncle Bob doesn't know shit, right? But Uncle Bob's got $100,000, and he wants to see a lot of money come back to him, right? So typically, we deal with the Uncle Bobs when they want to put their money to work, right? So in return, there's that delta. There's that space in between what we pay versus what we charge, right? So an example of that would be like, maybe we can find money at 10% and we charge 20%, right? We're making that spread in between. Annualized 10% for a full year to the lender to us, and then we're lending to you. It'll be that 20%. So there's that 10% spread, right? Here's the things that people don't talk about in that 10%. What happens when shit hits the fan? What happens when you go over budget as a borrower? What happens when things don't get done? What happens when I can't make the interest payment to the person that lent me the money? Do I get to come back to you and say, hey, man, we got to talk about some stuff? Hey, man, sorry, Mr. Uncle Bob, my borrower that I lent the money to just isn't doing well. Do you want to hear that as the lender? No. So we don't want to do that either, right? So the difference between private money and hard money is that education space. Typically, a broker working with a pool of money is that capital loan out, which is why the loans must be more secure, required to bring a higher down payment. Interest rates are higher, and the LTV must be lower. If I were to take one of those things off of the board, I would take LTVs out. Because if I say LTV to a bar or a lender that doesn't know anything about just any of that wording, they just want a return, right? The word return is all that matters. If I told anybody sitting here, give me $100 and I pay you $200 back in 6 months, would you take that? It's not a no-brainer, right? But if I said, hey, the LTV on these have to be 70%, I've got a amortization chart that really runs out for like 24 months. And at the end of the day, I've got a first position lien and sometimes a second position lien. Are you okay with that? And meanwhile, they're like, what the fuck did you say? I have no clue, right? Because that's not normal. That's in the mortgage space. That's in the hard money space. That's in the private, we're talking in this world space, right? So there's got to be just a simple talk. How am I safe and how do I not get screwed? So if you're going to go to friends and family, you need to learn this, right? And security is the first point because they're all going to want it. And the next person that's going to make sure it happens is the attorney writing the paperwork, right?
I think that's one of the pluses, though, Sean, of having that hard money because it's another filter to the deal.
Yes,
right?
100%.
They're going to vet it out and make sure it is actually a deal.
A hard money to be looked at as a safety net is your first priority. You need to look at those people as they're going to keep you out of trouble. Not that they're charging you a lot of interest and not that they're charging you points and all that. That's fine. You can look at it that way. But if you don't have the experience and you want to get into one, I can tell you my first 2 hard money loans, thank God I had that guy because I would have drowned myself, right? I went over time. I went over budget. I wasn't correctly doing paperwork right, like all that kind of stuff. On the 3rd loan, I killed it because I followed all of his instructions. Oh, you mean this shit actually works? Like he knows what he's talking about? And that's what happened, right? Let's go to the next one. That's a good bring up, JP. Really good bring up. People don't look at things like that. All right, so finding a lender. Coming to groups like this, right? Local investor-friendly attorneys. Go into any local attorneys that understand wholesaling, private money, fix and flip lending. We've got a ton of those I can share with you. Land records. This is one that I did when I first started because I was already doing the record search, the deeds and records, right? So I'm nosy. I'm really nosy. I'm going to get into shit and understand what's going on and why, right? So I want to see what's happening with people's paperwork. So if you go to public record and go down and look at any land records, you can see a deed of trust, who the lender was, who the borrower was, and if they didn't do it correctly, then they'll put the interest rate and how much they loaned, right? If they did do it correctly, then it will be private on a note, right? Ours are private. Here's why. I was the guy that would call up the lender. I'd figure out who the LLC was. I'd go to SEC. I'd pull up their information. I'd backtrack them, go find their name, go pull their address, skip trace them, and call them. Hey, man, it looks like you were lending on 123 Main Street to this LLC. I actually know them. Looks like you lent at 8%. I'm trying to get into some loans. Would you be interested in talking with me? Who are you again? I thought nobody knew that stuff, right? That is being creative, right? That is the way that I got started in this industry, was just digging up information. That is not a secret. I tell people that, and they're like, what? You can do that? Oh, yeah. There's a lot of information out there. Existing rehab properties. Anybody that's rehabbing a property typically has got some money on it, one way, shape, or form. Go look up that information. It's public record, guys. It's in the open eye. It's literally right there for you to go see. If you pay for access, you can get access to it remotely online. If not, just go to the courthouse during the week and go pull them up. Go find 5 properties and go pull up those DOTs. Just go pull them up out of GPIN or tax ID. Everything's right there. Okay. No questions yet. All right. Vetting a lender. This is very important. Reaching out to existing borrowers. This is kind of some stuff I was touching on with you guys before. So if you want to work with us, ask us some of the people that we've lent to. Looking at their lending terms, percentages, points, LTVs, down payment amounts. See current and previous projects. And then a proof of funds will show you that we're either using a credit line or a bank account. The guys that I work with is a pool of money that we broker, that pool of money. It was the money that we had for us, so then we are starting to lend that money back out, right? You will go through this cycle yourself. If you start as a wholesaler, you're eventually going to turn into a rehabber. And from a rehabber, you're going to turn into a landlord. And from a landlord, you're going to turn into a lender. Guarantee you it's going to happen because I've been in this for 13 years and seen it happen multiple times over. I've seen a lot of people just skip it go straight from wholesaling. They're like, screw that. That's too much work. I'm just go straight to lending. And I had guys that do great at it. It's just what they're good at. They want to do it. They want to skip all that. They don't want to do rehabbing. They don't want to do buy and holds. They don't want to do any of that. They just went straight to lending, right? Knowing a bank account or a credit line is important. Ours is a pool of cash. It's liquid cash. So we will show you, and it changes every day. One day you might see $1 million in it. Next day you might see $200,000 in it because we made multiple loans, right? It just depends on what we're doing that week. But we will show you that the money's available, and we will make that money available for that loan, right? And I think talking to other people is very important. Talking to other people that have borrowed that money. Even we have stepped into other people's positions, and we want that talk, right? Hey, did Sean do what he said he was going to do? Did the lending company, like Ashley helps us with this stuff. Cam helps us with stuff. We have team members that are putting behind it. We're not going to put our team in jeopardy just for me as the lender. What we do as a team is what we do completely, right? We actually had a thing the other day. It was funny because thank God all of our calls are recorded. I was talking about something. We had a deal going down. I thought it was $3,000 was our agreement for what we were going to do. And actually, the phone call, Ashley was like, actually, you said $2,500. I was like, shit, wrong account, right? So I called the guy, and I was like, hey, sorry, my fault. It wasn't $3,000. It's $2,500. Let's move forward. So I'm being held accountable by team members because we all do what's the right business, right? We do the right thing. It's actually one of our core values. We don't play games, right? So if you're doing something wrong in the company, why am I hiring you? Right? We all know as a team that we're all doing what we say we're going to do, and then we rely on each other if you screw up. Like that exact moment. Hey, Sean, in that recording, I heard it. You said $2,500, not $3,000. Oh shit, my bad. Right? Go to the next one. Any questions online yet? I'm trying to make sure I get through this quick enough that I want to get to that page. All right, so here's that lender's package I was talking about. You can see where this is a Google Drive, and we went all the way down through it, right? So that's kind of far away in here, but you can probably see it online. And this one, Cam is one of our team members, so he was okay with this. So who is the borrower? The certificate of organization is your paperwork on your SEC, a full CMA, an insurance policy showing that it's in place, the lender's LTV sheet, which I'm going to show you guys in a second, a membership certificate. I forgot what that was for. But moisture report, that's a termite moisture report. An operating agreement is from the State Corporation Commission. That you have to have an operating agreement even to go open up a bank account, right? You have to have your EIN to go open up a bank account. You can't have any of that. You're not opening up a bank account. We're not doing business with you. Property details is just a report of the property itself. I want a copy of your purchase and sale agreement so I can see what you're in contract for, who and why and what and where. I want a quick CMA report. I don't care if that's from your landlord, your realtor, a broker friend. I need something to show me how you came up with this math that says you're going to sell the property for $250,000, right? Bless you. Rental comps. Why do I want to see rental comps? What happens if you can't sell this property? Right? I got to rent it. You got to do something. You got to get me out of this loan. I need to see what the rental comps are going for to know it's going to support what your monthly payment to me is, or are we going to invoke the deed in lieu? Right? I'm only going to go but so far on that train ride before it's over, right? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. This is not a, hey, 6 months at month 6 and day 30. Like you're out. I'm not doing that, right? I don't want the property back. I'm like most lenders. I want you to put my money to work and give my money back, right? I don't want to deal with the house. That's why I'm lending money, okay? And then SEC is just a screenshot showing you're current and you're not in behind or you're not deactivated, much less you're just current, right? It's an active status. Anybody can pull that up online. The termite letter is showing the termite report if you have one. A lot of people like to leave their termite and moisture letter and invoice on the HUD, right? Because it's not that much. It's like $150 sometimes unless they get work done. And most termite companies are okay with that. So if you send an invoice inside of 30 days, they know they're going to get paid anyway. So just stacking up invoices, right? Then most of them are on a net 30. And then, of course, the title binder. This is everything we talked about before. What's in the title binder, and is it clear and good to go? The next one. Is this good? Does this make sense as far as I'm talking about like a lender package? Guys, this is more important than you realize because I get hit daily. Hey, Sean, I got a loan. Can you look at it? And now my statement is go to the calculator on our website. If the calculator says 70% or lower, we'll take the next step. So they qualify themselves, right? Go to the next one. Questions? Oh, okay, cool. All right, so let's pull up. You have access to that LTV sheet? If you have that, I'm going to get you to roll around on that for a second for me and do some inputting. All right, so this LTV sheet. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it to the online people. I'm going to say it to people here and anybody that watches this later. We do not sell this sheet. We do not give it out. This is something so easy to create, and it has so many different type of formulas in it that we do, right? It is a basic Excel sheet, but just from watching this and hopefully seeing it, you can create your own. And there's tons of sheets out there like this, right? This is just one that we created, okay? So the LTV sheet, if you just go into the Google Drive and pull up, because then you're going to be able to change it. Okay. Well, that's a PDF, though. I want you to be able to use the Excel doc. Yeah. There you go. It's probably got one that I was writing today. Hopefully it says 190,000 on it. Yeah, it does. All right, let's use this one. This is great. So this was an example of a sub-2 deal. Maybe you can zoom in a little bit on it just so that people can see it here. Okay. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see acquisitions. You're going to see a closing price. And then based on percentages, you'll start to see the carrying costs fill in, right? Builder's risk, general liability, taxes. We say utilities for like 6 months, right? Because that's the length of the loan. So we just used $750 because that was our average over 6 months. And then if it's in the summertime, spring through fall, maybe $300 to say like cutting the grass, right? Because you're going to have to cut the grass at some point. Whether you do it or you pay somebody, I don't care. I want it to be part of your budget. And then you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the cost, right? They're line items out. So now you'll actually see this match up, but it actually scrolls down on the left-hand side. You'll see where it comes in and says individual costs for prices, right? What things cost. When you go to our website and you actually go to the flip application, that's literally line for line. Because then it comes into our system in the background, our CRM, and manages all the math, right? And just adds it all up. So what happened? Go away? So this fix and flip application, this is actually our website. So thecoastalcapitalgroup.com is our intake website. So you can see where all this information, right? Borrower's name, past 2 properties you've done in 6 months, and then actually start scrolling down. You'll be right about here. This is where we start filling in. Oh, it's the new application you put that on. So see where it's going line for line, the cost? You fill that in. It'll tell us at the bottom what you estimated. It'll tell us what you're going to calculate for your rehab budget, right? And that's literally going over to our other sheet in the background. So what you put in is what we've used. We don't change anything. We actually changed this. We were using our math and realizing like, well, that was the normal cost, but then of course people get things done for cheaper or maybe a little more expensive. So we're like, all right, let's take that out and do it this way. So now this intake form literally comes into the background and tells us all the information we need, right? Everything that we request builds a profile for you as a borrower, right? Ashley is actually working on some pretty cool shit to where we're actually creating a portal to where you will log in as a borrower and have your own portal to where everything is done online, right? You'll upload your pictures when we do inspections. You'll upload permits. Anything that has to be done will be done through a portal that only you have access to. And then it'll be all of our clients that log into that website, right? We got this from an organizational standpoint because we're like, this is great, but how can we make it more user-friendly? Because we're realizing the hard money or private money space is very antiquated. And I'm talking like old school shit. Hey, send me your Word doc and send me your Excel doc, and they send it back to them. It's super antiquated, right? Can you go to the calculator for a second? Because this is one that gets abused, and I love it. This thing saves everybody time. You, me, and the rest of the world. Hey, Sean, will you fund this deal? Go to the calculator, and let's enter some math. So $250,000 is what your ARV is. And then you're going to request, let's just say $175,000 is the purchase price. And then we'll put rehab as $150,000. I'm sorry, rehab is 50. And then it'll be a 6-month loan, right? So when Ashley's done with that, watch what happens to the calculator. The total loan amount, 227. Loan to value, 90%. And just for extra, we said we will not fund this if it doesn't meet 70%, right? So right out of the jump, you don't need me. You qualify the deal yourself, right? So this is a really good way of qualifying your deal if you're trying to figure out if it works or not for your offer you want to make, right? Not only do you know the math now, but you can go to the calculator and it'll tell you right out of the gate. So we got 2 programs. One is 10% down for inexperienced people, meaning you can't qualify the, hey, I've done 2 flips in 6 months. And how did those flips go, right? They had to stay on budget, they had to stay on time, and the lender got paid back. We are going to contact the lender, right? If you have that experience and you get all that qualification, I will require no down payment. I will allow you to wrap it into your loan, right? That's another thing that most lenders are not doing, okay? So I will allow you to wrap your closing costs. I will allow you to wrap, we're not even giving a down payment, and I'll allow you to wrap maybe some of the points, right? Don't forget, you're paying interest on that, right? So if you want to do it, it's fine. You're going to pay money on it now, you're going to pay money later. Up to you, right? Most people want no money down. That's fine. We're going to make it somewhere. I don't beat that up too much because like I had the other day, like, Sean, are you do it? Yeah, but you're going to pay interest on it. You okay with that? You're paying an extra $500 to $600 for sitting for 6 months. I don't care. I'm good. If you're good, I'm good. I like making money. All right, so everybody understand this calculator? This was something that we actually got the idea from the big banks, like the big lenders. You know, if you go on their mortgage calculators and that you just put them in and be like, here's what your estimated mortgage would be. We're like, why can't we use that same shit for the lending space to what we're doing? And nobody did it. And so Ashley found a way of creating the calculator and put it on the website. So we're like, awesome. Do you know how much time this saves for people just calling, much less asking me questions like, Sean, would you fund this? I don't know. Go to calculator. Sean, it's 80%. I mean, 2 things got to change. 3 things got to change. Purchase price, rehab. I mean, that's it. They're retail, purchase, and rehab. Those are the only 3 numbers we got. And if it's under 70%, we'll take the next steps. All right? Transactional funding, let's talk about it just for a quick second. Actually, no, go back to the proof of funds. This is a good one. So here's another one that I got kind of upset about in the industry. You know that you can go online and just pay some stupid company like 10, 20 bucks a month, and then you put in some information, it spits you out like this thing that says proof of funds. Everybody knows that, right? If you don't, you do now. There are so many websites that make that available, and great, they found a way of making money. But that proof of funds was trash. Right? Because there was no qualifying to the proof of funds. For me, if I'm going to give you a proof of funds, you have to show me you have the down payment ability, right? Meaning like it's my decision if I want you to put it down or not based on you qualifying with your 2 deals in 6 months. But I want to see the money. So screenshot in an account that shows me you have the down payment about. Most of the loans are under, if you use 250 ARV, we just showed 70%, right? $175,000. 10% of that, $17,500. Show me that's in an account somewhere. And if it's not your account, then whose account is it that you're showing me? I want to see it. Then I will send you a proof of funds letter. That's all I need to send that proof of funds letter, right? And it's literally done on the computer, actually from my phone. If I see it and you qualify the rest of the information, I can literally from my phone say yes, approve, hit, and I can send you an email, and I'll have you a proof of funds like that. But I am qualifying you, right? You will not get a proof of funds letter from me if you cannot show me that down payment ability. I am not that guy, right? Because I hate being when I was the wholesaler, and we still wholesale, but when I would see that and the qualifications, I would get these bullshit letters. Just like somebody out of California or somebody online. The first thing I do is Google the LLC or the website. And I'm like, I'd call it all the time. You call that number on my proof of funds, you're getting me. It's got my signature on it, and I'm going to go pull up your account and be like, yeah, I found out they have the down payment ability. They're good to go. It still has to go through qualifying. It's still got to go through underwriting. That's why I don't really like proof of funds letter, because it's bullshit, right? Like, it's not really worth anything. It gets you past some stuff, but people that really know what they're talking about doesn't do much. All right, so lending terms. If you go into the lending terms, they talk about it, right? some of these terms change. Most of them are pretty solid. So we're going to be 10 and 2. It might be 12 and 2. It just depends on who you are. And this sheet, it starts at 12 and 2 and will go lower, right? So 12, depending on experience, and 2. Or I can drop it and I can go 10 and 2. 6 months. There's $150 a charge per construction draw. A minimum amount that's lent is $100,000. Because bare minimum, we're going to get back $10,000. The maximum ARV is $500, which I just broke that rule the other day. Because I don't normally do that, but that was a solid deal. And the loan will be secured by a first deed of trust. We talked about this, right? First and second lien. We will do second liens on creative sub-2 deals, right? It is a case by case. I used to hate that as a borrower going to lenders. Like, dude, give me something I can go for. But you can't. It's really hard, right? The underwriting has to really match up. It's like, how much is on the first? Where are we at doing it? How much on the second? Like, there's so many nuances. That's why I don't promote it as I'll do it on the website. But we are okay with regular loans in a first D position, right? Transactional funding. Anybody know what that is?
Basically, if you're like trying to perform a double close, you just need the funds there so you can get that signed.
Yeah. So for those guys online, he was saying that transactional funding is a double close, right? I have A to B for $100,000, right? And the wholesaler is going to sell that contract again to an end buyer for $125,000, right? So then you're going to make $25,000. That's fine. They want to double close that because they don't want either somebody else to see it or the way the transaction needs to go is it wasn't assignable, right? So they need to close on that transaction. As far as transactional funding, we will not, and I mean this with a heartbeat, no questions asked. We will not fund that transaction unless I see the end buyer's funds in escrow, right? We have done it twice. Actually, this past year, we've done it 3 times, and we were bit every time, right? We still got the deal out of the deal, but we had to drag out the time frame in which we wanted to do it, right? So from now on, we are not doing transactional funding unless that second person's buyer's money is in an account, okay? In the state of Virginia, that I know of, you can't use the end buyer's funds to bring to the table and then use it to close the first transaction. That is illegal to do, right? From my understanding. So what that means is your cash buyer, right? Let's say there's wholesaler from A to B. They're going to close on the transaction. And then they have a buyer ready from C to D, right? So they're going to take their money, bring it into escrow, use it to close the first, and then make all their money in between and be done, right? My understanding is that it's illegal. You can't do that. You actually have to have the physical cash in account to close it, record, show the deeds of trust, all that kind of stuff, and then do the second transaction, right? So that's what we provide with transactional funding. We charge 3 points on that, right? So if you say it's a $100,000 loan, we'll charge $3,000 to do it. Minimum amount, $100,000 again. And then if it's less than $100,000, I've got to be really keen on it. And when I say keen, it better be like a smoking hot deal where I can't get my ass bit, right? Remember, I'm the protecting of the money. It's not just mine, it's my partner's, and I'm the head that's got to be chopped off if shit goes south, right? So just like you guys are signing your name on the line, I'm signing my name on the line, right? Shit rolls downhill. It's coming after you hard. Maximum loan is 14 calendar days. I don't think we've gone past that yet, but we're being very strict to that, okay? All right, so think I am at almost 8:30. Can we go back to the transaction sheet on the LTV? This is one I usually get a lot of attention on and a lot of questions on. So this is how it's written in the background to realize whether this is a deal or not. So I was actually underwriting this today from a sub-2 standpoint, okay? So on the left-hand side, you can see the holding costs, builder's risk, general liability, taxes, utilities, all that kind of stuff. And then as we go down the left-hand side, we were filling in math, right? We were filling in roof. What else we got on there? Paint, fencing, a few small things, doors, interior, exterior, bathrooms, kitchens, drywall, and then he was paying payments for 6 months, so that looks like probably like $900-ish a month of a sub-2 mortgage. So if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see where the total amount is because it doesn't include a purchase price yet, right? And I'm explaining this from an underwriting of a sub-2 transaction. So if I go back up a little bit on the right, now the number that we used go up on the right a little bit more. The number that we used on the sales side, we actually discounted just up where it says sales cost for their agents. A little more, Ashley, a little higher. That right there. So where it says subtotal of sales, and she clicks on that as a formula here, right? Right now it should say 7%, and we typically run that at 10, right? So 10% would be 6% for agents, 3 and 3, and 4% for closing costs. Now, who in their right mind is giving back 4% in closing costs? Nobody, right? But if it's there and it's available, then it equates to your bottom line. If you don't use it, then it just goes to your profit, right? If I write it this way, again, if I write it as failure, then it's good if it fails because we're safe, right? But you can see, like Ashley, change that to 10%, please. And then now this will look at the equation, right? It's going to run the math a little bit different, and it's going to all the numbers change slightly, right? So this is 10% at $190,000. The closing cost is already calculated in for the sales side. The loan amount included all of that plus the carrying cost, 55. It's got the interest on that, and you can see that interest shows 25% annualized. It's breaking it down in 6 months, right? So it's what, 12.5? Gets us to 69, call it $7,000. And then after the payout, before the mortgage, I'm at 108. What we've done is taken down there and write the mortgage payoff, which is like, hey, your mortgage that we've got to pay the bank off, which is the first position, is $85,000. Okay? That leaves you with $23,000 as a profit. What I want to do is actually go back up to the purchase and sale, or the purchase price, and just add 85 into it on the acquisitions. Acquisitions, left, up, right there. Yep, 85. If I leave this and goes down to the bottom right-hand side, do you see what the profit spread is? It's $12,000. We will not fund that deal unless we see you making at least 20 to 25 grand or more. That's the only way I'm funding that. That's just our requirement, right? If I don't see you making $25,000 or more on a fix and flip, I'm not funding it. Anybody want to take a guess why? You got 25 grand worth of whoops room until you're walking away from that loan. Or you're not going to start answering, you're not going to keep answering my phone calls. You're not going to answer my texts, right? Because once that profit margin starts going away, your interest starts going away because you don't care. What are you going to lose? Well, if you forgot, you signed a personal guarantee. There's a lot more to lose. But the point of this is understanding that getting creative here saved you the interest. I'm an investor that understands and a lender that understands how that works. I'm willing to do something creative like this, right? So you can see the 12 grand, it doesn't work. You go through a machine, you're like, our calculator, like, it doesn't work. Well, can I do it creatively? Then this is how we underwrite it. So I'm showing you guys this online and here so you guys realize, like, we are not just a in-the-box lender. We understand a little bit more than just your average Joe, okay? Does this sheet make sense? And why? And there's a lot of these kind of sheets out here, right? But this is so important for you to either create or find or make that you put it in a lender's package. You want to be able to do this on your own because then you can fluctuate from whatever lender. You don't use us, that's fine. But have this available and show it to the person that you're going to be asking for money for. Whether it be a private lender, hard money lender, or Uncle Bob, right? Because Uncle Bob's going to be like, how do I get my money back? Then you're going to show him, I got this much room, and here's why and how, okay? So this sheet is something that I don't put it out, I don't sell it, I don't do none of that. I just keep it inside because it's not hard to make. I actually had somebody reach out to me the other day and was like, hey, Sean, you showed that and I created it 2 days later. Awesome. That's what I want. Because it's so many things, like from talk about like a legal standpoint. Like, Sean, I used your sheet and I lost a lot of money. Here we go. All right? I'm going to sue you because I didn't do the right equation or know how to calculate it. I get worried on that when we sell paperwork, right, for purchase and sale agreements and stuff like that, but we have got so many disclaimers. Everybody wants to sue everybody, right? We do it for an education standpoint, but that's when I draw the line at this, right? Like, this is way more complicated. I change formulas inside of this. Like, you create it for yourself, it should really help you. But from a sales standpoint, this should help you sell your loan to any lender. On top of that, for those people that are wholesaling, use this as a sales point for your sale, right? I came up with this number because of this. I didn't pull this number out of thin air. My ass doesn't hold that much number in it, right? Mr. Seller, here's how I came up with my number. If you're okay, then this is what that talk sounds like. Like, take them on the ride with you, right? I'm going to make 30 grand. I'm going to spend 6 months doing it. That's $5,000 a month. You okay with that? It's a lot of work for $5,000 a month, but if you allow me to make it, here's how I can do that. If I pay you this amount of money, it looks like I'm negative $28,000. You see where the sales pitch comes in if you're talking about sales pitches, or if you're just talking straight numbers and take emotion out of it. That's where this helps. Okay. Any questions online? I don't know how many people were online, if any.
We had one question.
Okay.
And it was, can you give another example of underwriting again, 300,000?
Let's do it on this loan. So 300,000, and for that person that's asking the question, is it 300,000 as the ARV? I will take that as a yes until you correct me. So then 300,000 will go down on the bottom where you write 300 on sale, not at the very bottom. Go up a little bit. In the blue, yep. Final sales price, right? 300.
This is really hard to do. Like,
I know. I know. I was thinking about doing this the other day, and I was like, man, I'd get jacked up right now. So 300,000. I want to change the fix and flip price by 20 grand. So I want to add 20 grand to it. So just take the 5,000, change it to 25,000. Anywhere you want to put 20 grand is fine. Type in 20 grand anywhere. In that equation right there, you can write it in any one of those lines. It'll add it. It'll add it and call it 70 grand ish. Well, it was at 50.
Yeah, but you said 5.
Oh, sorry. All right, so now go up to the left-hand side, and they didn't give me a purchase price, so I'm going to go in at 150. Purchase price. Top left. Yep, acquisitions. 150. I know. I've done it like this. So now scroll down on the right, and whoever's online, look at the math over here on the final estimated profit, showing 15,445. Right now, here's another piece that I want you to understand. This is from a hard money perspective. This is a hard money loan. If they are not borrowing hard money and they have their liquid cash, then we can change that math, right? But as a wholesaler, you need to run your math at what most people are doing, which is borrowing money, right? So you need to be maxed at 70% loan to value. But if Ashley takes that loan interest and just chops it down, it's a 10. If you take loan interest and chop it to 10, that would be the profit that rehabber should see at $32,000 if all the other stuff added up, right? So whoever the person is online that was asking this question, remember, I estimated a $70,000 price, or if we use the formula and we say $300,000 times 70%, whatever that math is your all-in number. Now take out whatever your rehab budget is. That is your purchase price before your wholesale fee, if you're wholesaling. Then that is your offer to the seller. In order to put that back, we do this we teach this in a property walkthrough, and we trip everybody up with this on purpose, right? When you do this math, you have to take your wholesale fee off, and then when you sell it back to the end buyer, you got to put it back on. That is how you make your money, right? As dumb as that sounds sometimes, like it's meant to trip people up because it's not. People don't know it, right? So 300,000 times 70%. This is based off of somebody using 10% money on an annualized basis. So let's just say it's Uncle Bob's money, and you're paying him 10%. He's going to make $11,000 on this loan of, what was it, 226? Yeah, loan principal was 226, 271. Right? So, hey, Bob, can I borrow $226,000 at 70% loan to value at 10% return? You lost Uncle Bob at LTV, by the way. Right? Hey, Uncle Bob, can I borrow $200,000? I'll pay you back 20 grand. Because that math makes a lot more simple than what you're trying to talk to in legal ease or mortgage or borrower or lender, all that kind of stuff. Understanding talking to people when you're asking for money needs to be simple, right? The more complicated it is, the more they walk away from you, right? So understanding this math is important.
Yeah, also understanding that every lender is going to be different.
Every
So
lender.
even though you have your sheet like this, the lender may send you a sheet that they want you to fill in, that is their sheet with their formulas.
Yep.
So you may still have to fill that in and understand that the numbers are going to be different based on what they see. They may have like a higher contingency or something.
Yeah. So Ashley, and summing that up, Ashley was just saying that when you have other lenders ask for things, this sheet might work for your quick numbers, but remember, this is just a straight math number. This isn't points. This isn't anything else added. It's just interest, right? It's just a straight interest number, but it shows 25% APR. So it would roughly work out to the same, right? If I said points and percentages, it would fit the same math, okay? So when you create or you find sheets, you need to learn for yourself in pitching and or asking for money. This is just basic math. And I say it like that because you need to know this. Have all your costs associated so that when you go to pitch the deal, it makes sense, right? Anything, does anybody have any question? Well, first of all, whoever's online, did I help answer that question from a 300 number?
Looks like yes.
Okay, good. Anybody here want to throw some math on this thing? Does it make sense? Pretty self-explanatory? Okay. Does anybody understand the importance of this and why it's so important for you as the borrower, much less you as the, let's just say you get to the lending position, right? I didn't understand this when I first started. Like, I didn't understand all the math that went into it, which is how most sellers do it, right? I love that statement. Well, if you're gonna pay me $100,000, you're gonna sell it for $300,000, and you're gonna put $50,000 into it. You're gonna make like $100,000. You're gonna make like $200,000. I love that statement, right? Because then I'm just gonna break it down and show them. Well, there's a lot of things that go into that. Nothing that you give a shit about, but here's the math. Here's what I'm actually gonna make. Oh shit, I'm in the hole by paying you $150,000. I'm only gonna sell it for $250,000. I'm really like $26,000 before I even start the project. I'm in the hole. I don't think my lender would give me that money. I didn't realize it. And that changes talking to sellers all day. As long as you're solving a problem and as long as you're being transparent with this kind of math, that's all it takes from a wholesale perspective. Now, if you're not worried about wholesaling and you're just trying to talk to sellers and just have your own seller pipeline, great, but that helps that too. We got a deal. I love talking about this one. We got a deal that we made almost $40,000 on because the lady was like, if you tell me you will be over here to take this chandelier down, then I will sign your contract. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, that was the chandelier I got at my wedding. And that's from me and my husband. My husband's gone. That's the last thing I have of him. Right? That same face was what I got. And my heart was just like, yes, I will sign whatever the fuck you want to come over and do that because that's awesome. And then I'm glad I get to be part of it. Right? So it wasn't really about the money. It was about solving a problem. And we were $40,000 less than the other person. Right? And the only thing that got us the deal was listening and talking and being real. And, of course, showing up and putting that thing in a box and taking it out of the ceiling. Right? My wife to this day loves bringing that up. Right? Because it's just something small and what we might think simple. But for other people and what they have, that's an emotional thing. Right? Remember, most people don't sell more than 3 homes in their lifetime. Right? We as investors do it day in and day out. And it becomes very numb. Right? You forget about a lot of the nuances that play into this game. You have to remember that. Solve people's problems, especially emotionally, and you'll get a lot farther in this industry as far as like doing deals and making better relationships. Right? It's not always about the money. You were just talking about that earlier. I thought that was awesome. You have a new military person, and they're young, and they're fire, and you're ready to go, and that fulfills you, right? Just like us, we in our education space. I can't tell you guys the feeling when we teach people how to wholesale, and we get the call of like, I got my first deal, or they get that check, right? I still, just talking about it right now, I get like chills on my arm, chills on my spine, because it's like you can't put a price on what it's like to change somebody's trajectory of what they're going to do with the rest of their life because you taught them this one little thing, right? Unbelievable. And I can't put a price on that. And I really don't need to, but it's awesome to feel. Right? So it's not always about money. Sometimes it's the feels and what fulfills you. I used to think that was some real like hippie woo-woo shit. Then I got older and all of a sudden I was like, ugh, I know what that means now. So, all right. So we're right here at 8:30. I know these guys get shutting down. I'd like to give some time, either some questions or things that you guys have to chit-chat about. Was this helpful? Yeah? Okay. Questions for online or here?
So
Yeah.
I know you said a minimum
Just so people can hear you online.
$10,000 profit for yourself as the lender.
Yeah.
So does it mean you charge basically the whole year of interest?
No.
When you do a loan?
So we are charging on 6 months, right?
Right.
As we do the loan, it's only charged at 6 months and fully earned. So if I lend you $100,000 at 10% for 6 months, that's 20% annualized. It means I will see that $10,000 no matter what at the end of a 6-month loan. Doesn't matter if it's 3 months.
So it's like it'd be like 24% annualized.
Yes.
Like APY. Okay, I got it.
If you're talking about APR versus fixed, just take it and take 6 months and double it.
Okay.
So when you hear people saying points and percentages, that's what I was trying to explain earlier. It's like in the industry, you'll hear people say 12 and 2, 10 and 2, 12 and 3. What does that mean? And for each lender, it's different. Us, we are loaning in 6 months. We are loaning at 6 month, 100% earned at that day, right? So no matter what, it doesn't matter if you finish in, it's actually a 3-month minimum on ours, right? Like it's fully earned no matter what. But like if you come into us and you say like a private lender, we're going to pay them 3 months of interest no matter what, doesn't matter. Because they only get paid on the loans. Some guys have written long-term paper with us and we pay them out quarterly. Otherwise, it's just deal for deal.
Right.
Does that help answer it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Guys, if you find somebody that's lending, and expect this, by the way, if you find a private lender, Uncle Bob's money, that's 8 and 10 because it's their money, right? If it's hard money, lend on a hard asset, then that is usually 20%, if not more, right? So if you're a private lender listening to this and hearing it, and you want that kind of return, then go do everything that comes with earning 20%, right? Otherwise, you are the silent person that gets 10 to 8% annualized, right? Because it ain't easy. Going to these properties and babysitting them and listening to all the paperwork and all the left and right, it's a lot of work, man. But it's good money. I don't want to discount that, but everybody says they hear the numbers, they're like, holy shit, I can make 25%. You're like, bro, I ain't making 25%, right? When it's done breaking down, it's not 25%. So just like anything else, right? It sounds great until you get down to the bottom of what happens, and you chop out all the fees in between, and what are you actually netting?
As a borrower, it's just another tool.
Correct. Meaning that I used to look at the same problem, like, damn, that's expensive money. But then when I changed my mindset and I was like, well, I can borrow that money as long as it meets the criteria. I have the money there. The deal works as long as I get to that equation, right? So most deals are at 70% no matter what. If you find buyers that are at 80% loan to value, this is actually pretty funny. We have some buyers that we work with that we all always say it. Oh, you're buying at 82 and 83% right now. What? Yeah. You're buying at this, you're fixing at this, and you're selling for that? You're at like 82, 85% LTV, which is great for us as a wholesaler. For a lender, hell no. Not happening. Right? Because we're contracting up at 70%, and then we're selling that contract at 83, 84, 85%. That's a killer spread, right? Because I got the same math that worked at 70% they would have bought at, but they're actually buying at a higher LTV. So my profit margin should go way higher, right? Where we worked in 20 grand, you can almost double that if they're buying at 85% LTV. When you learn how to do that math as a wholesaler, for those people watching it or those people here, understand that. If you are contracting up at 70% and you find buyers anything higher than that, your wholesale fee should go way higher quicker, right? Understanding what they buy at is important. Vetting your buyer is even more important. You will get away from all the bullshit by vetting your buyers, right? Anybody say they can't give you proof of funds or they can't vet the past 2-3 deals? I'm not talking to them, right? I can get somebody to screen, and I get this so much from a wholesale perspective, much less a lending perspective. Hey, Sean, I don't want to send you a screenshot of my bank account. Why? I'll send it to you after I look at the deal. Okay, so what's the difference between now and then? Well, I don't want to share my information with you. It might be a scam. What the fuck am I going to do with a screenshot of a bank account? It doesn't have a routing account number. It doesn't have routing and account number. I don't have any of that on there. What the fuck would I do with it, right? And if it does have a name, okay. And if it does have an LLC, okay. But what could I even do with that, right? Like, man, you got to get, I don't know. I guess I'm not good at scamming. I don't know what you could do with it, right? But I can guarantee you the people that are those people that don't have a problem doing it, I will get a screenshot like that showing the account. I got no problem with it, right? But there's vetting behind that as a buyer's perspective. You will get out of all the bullshit you're dealing with other wholesalers saying they're buyers and get away from it. That's for you, Ed, because I know you deal with a lot of that, right? I know a lot because I used to deal with it. All right, so 8:47. What time do they start kicking us out of here? 10? Okay, cool. So we got a little bit of time.
Not 8.
Taps closed at 8. Last call 7:45. That can't be right because they'd have told us to get out of here by now.
Last time I saw that, it was closes at 10 last call.
All right, so guys, what is this? The sign in? That's the sign in. So if you guys can, did you already sign in over there? Okay, cool. So you got it over there. It did or didn't? Oh snap!
It says example.com.
That was Ashley on the fly. She's usually pretty good with it, by the way. All right, guys. So good, helpful, awesome. So guys, we're gonna shut down online and we'll turn all that off. Guys, we hang out here for a second. Let's network and talk. A smaller group tonight. I love it when it's smaller. Actually, I get to have more talks and ask questions and that kind of stuff. I love the big groups, but this is how Alex and I started this, right? So if this is any indication of like JP starting with us and like us taking it over and starting over, I look forward to it because it's always built off of the people that are here, right? I've been in this industry for 13 years. I've met a lot of great people and like done a lot of business, right? I'm looking forward to JP and him stepping in and what he's doing. If you have interest to join us on this group or as a person that wants to come up here and do this, let us know, right? We'll do the same thing we do here at like another group I'm part of with Trig. Be a board member or even be on like the board if we call ourselves a board, right? This is literally Alex and I started having beers and Ashley and Vanessa helped us and then we ended up 5 years later here. It's been great. We've done a lot of business. I've met a lot of cool people, but I would love to have some more people come on with some fresh blood and some what you bring to the table. Like JP is going to bring a lot of cool stuff, right? Anybody else that has interest in doing it, we'll ask you to show your experience and come in this with help, right? Come in this with a mindset of helping, not selling. Or that was another reason Alex and I started this. We were tired of going to fucking meetings. Everybody's like, run to the back of the room and pay like $12,000 and I'll give you the fucking book to play with. And you're like, get out of here, man. So I think we've done really well with that over the years. We bring a lot of people in to speak. I look forward to anybody that wants to join us and do this and help. Please come and ask because we would love to have you guys do it. Right? It is always passing the torch, always. Right? It's always new blood. There's always new things happening. And I look forward to those people growing and learning and bringing something to the table.
Definitely like topics.
Yeah.
Share or bring it to. And there's up to.
Yeah. What is it that you guys want? This was the selfish thing that we did when we started, right? We wanted to have other people come in the market and we wanted to learn. So we were like, cool, would you come in and speak? They're like, yeah. And Alex started that with me as a rehabber and then it turned into what it is. And we've had other guys in the area. And one of I think our biggest ones that happens is the ODU professor that comes in and talks at the end of the year. It's awesome. His economics talk, if you're as nerdy as I am with numbers, you're like, dude, that thing's awesome. You know what I mean? So thank you guys for being online. Thank you for being here. Let's hang out for a little bit, have some beers and chit chat network. Cool. Cool, cool.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.